After it looked like it was going to be an incredibly rough game from the early goings on, the Habs bounce back, claw back from a 2-0 deficit, and what is essentially the LAVAL Rocket play a crucial role in sealing this nail-biting overtime victory. I'll be breaking it all down on this edition of Habs Digest. Hello, bonjour, ahoy, and welcome to today's game reaction edition of Habs Digest. I'm your host, Josh Gosse, and quickly before we get into the video, reminder to like, comment, and subscribe to this channel if you're brand new. It'd be really appreciated. Alright, so that was a fun game. Really fun game, you know. It's Hockey Day in Canada, Saturday night, Habs versus Leafs. It doesn't get any better than that, right? But unfortunately, we had the news earlier today that I'm sure a lot of you know Cole Caufield is out for the rest of the season. Of course, we know Slavkovsky's out for the season. We have countless guys still on IR who are not playing on the team. And this roster tonight looked like it was called up from Laval. We had Raphael Harvey-Pinard, Michael Pezzetta, Rem Pitlick, and more on this team. Alex Belzile, who just got called up today. And it looked like, okay, Montreal's facing a Toronto team who is one of the best in the Atlantic Division, and it's going to be tough. And sure enough, less than a minute into the game, Mark Giordano, of all people, gets his first ever goal within the first minute of a game, and puts Montreal down right away. And off the bat, I was like, okay, this day is awful, and it's about to get a lot worse. We're about to get smoked by the Leafs at home on a Saturday night hockey game. And honestly, for the rest of the first period, I kind of mirrored that sentiment. I mean, Montreal really was not playing that amazing for the rest of the first. We were doing okay, and like Justin Barron had a few smart plays. Kirby Dach, this game especially, was really, really physical, and I mean, he really, really wanted a goal, especially later in the game, but I mean, the Habs were okay. We got a power play. We didn't convert. But then later in the first period, off what was a rebound from Sam Montembeault, a pass all the way across the crease from the other side of the ice to Calle Jarnkrok, where there was no one there. He had literally the entire open net. He could have waited for about 3 seconds and still potted that goal. Montreal's down 2-0 after getting a couple of decent chances. And it was like, all right, it's 2-0. Maybe we can get something back by the end of the first, but we didn't. I mean, our defense was rough, and Alex Kerfoot should have had a goal, but Monty was able to at least intimidate him a bit, and I think he might have missed the puck a little bit, but Montreal came out of that first down 2-0, and I was like, okay, I mean, this game recap is just going to be one of those. No one watches. Cole Caufield's out, and Habs versus Leafs. If we lose to the Leafs, no one's going to want to relive this game. But then, second period, Montreal came out. And I texted my friend who's a Leafs fan, and after that period, I said that might have been the most dominant period of hockey I have seen Montreal play all season. Montreal hasn't looked like that, except for maybe earlier in the season, but even then, like, a period where the shots were 1.17-4, and I think at that point in the period, what I have it written down, they were 17-4, and then they were 21-18 for Toronto later in that period. We outshot them like 14-4, in that second period, and that was not at the end of the period. We clawed our way back. I think the shots were closer to like 24-24 at one point. Montreal was really, really going at Toronto. They were trying their hardest, and the Leafs just didn't know what to do, and it was really started in that period. Well, it was all started in that period by Josh Anderson. You know, Nick Suzuki, of course, was getting all the defensive attention. Nick Suzuki played over 25 minutes tonight as a forward. 25 and a half minutes as a forward. Yeah, I know the game went to overtime, but still, 25 and a half minutes? Gosh, we don't want another injury. Again, like, I want to keep him healthy. I don't want to have to play him that much every single night. But in a close game like tonight, on a Saturday night where you're playing Toronto, you do what you got to do, and I don't entirely mind it. Nick is who the fans are coming to see at this point, and he played a crucial role in this game, especially early in the second period. Very early on, he draws in the defense, the whole defense on a little bit of a rush after a good Rem Pitlick forecheck, who, by the way, top line, Rem Pitlick on the top line, played very well tonight. Pretty interesting to see. Wasn't exactly pegging him and Anderson as the Caufield replacements, but, you know, we made it work because both of them got a goal tonight, started by Anderson in that second period when Suzuki draws the defense in over to Anderson at about the top of the circle, and he lets rip one of the best one-timers I've ever seen from him right into the top of the net. No chance for Samsonov, and the Habs all of a sudden is 2-1, and that created some momentum. It created a spark. And that spark was really led by Kirby Dach, again, who I mentioned had an amazing game again tonight, laying the body like crazy. But that line of Raphael Harvey-Pinard, Michael Pezzetta, and Alex Belzile, they were playing together a lot tonight, and they were working. Like, Toronto, it looked like they just didn't know how to counter the physicality, the chaos, the pure chaos from that AHL line. Literally the Rockets' top line, if I'm not mistaken, earlier in the year. And it was crazy. Now, I know that, like, the Habs had some insane chances. Pezzetta had a chance before that, and there were some weird calls on the Leafs. The Habs got some power plays they maybe shouldn't have gotten. Ultimately, it didn't matter because we didn't score on the power play. But, yeah, after all that chaotic line, like, Pezzetta has had multiple chances, and sure enough, it was Pezzetta, Belzile, and Harvey Pinard connecting. Belzile kind of gives a nice pass to Pezzetta, bobbles it, dives on the ice with one hand on his stick, and just chops at the puck towards Samsonov. Goes for a rebound, and Harvey Pinard, as he's falling to the ice, getting tackled to the ice, chips it up over the pad. It's a 2-2 game. His second ever NHL goal, his first at home in front of the Bell Center crowd. Big hug for Michael Pezzetta, and he knew that was a game changer, tying up the game in the second period. In the second period, like, even later, Nick Suzuki had a shift where they were kind of switching lines a bit, but Suzuki was on basically the whole time, and they had possession, I think, for a minute and a half, 2 straight minutes in the Leaf zone. And it ended a little while later with Raphael Harvey Pinard almost getting another on a little diving backhand to try and chip it over Samsonov. The Habs had 9 high-danger scoring chances, 5-on-5 in the second period. That is one of their top marks all season. I believe top 3 for second periods all year for Montreal for 5-on-5 high-danger scoring chances in a period. So it was nuts. One of their best periods all season. The eye test was definitely telling the truth, and we come into the third tied up 2-2. And spoiler, it stayed that way until the end of the third, but Montreal really, really got a little lucky because the Leafs came storming back. The Leafs dominated in the first, Montreal dominated in the second, and the Leafs came back and just rolled through the Habs in that third period, but they couldn't score. Like, Josh Anderson just missed the net on a breakaway, and Montembeault had an insane save where he, like, kind of just dives across the crease, it hits his leg, and then he closes up all the holes and just shuts down on the puck. He was phenomenal. After those first 2 goals in the first period, he was stellar. The commentators were talking about him. Montembeault was, again, the reason Montreal won this game. His third period performance rivals any period of his season, if you ask me. This guy kept us in the game single-handedly. But we were getting hemmed in our zone hard. The Leafs were firing on net, constant chances. And it was frustrating because I was like, man, you could just feel that a Leafs goal was coming. But it never did. And it really never did. And then later in the third, Montreal starts, occasionally getting closer to the net. We started to bowl over Samsonov. Earlier in the game, Pezzetta kind of went skate on skate. I think Samsonov flopped a bit on that. But then Doc is driving super hard at the net, getting hit into Samsonov. And then the next time down, Doc again. This time more of his fault. He goes straight into Samsonov. We're trying to get into his head, right? He was already upset. He had his helmet knocked off earlier in the game from a slap shot. Refs didn't blow the whistle until he shook it off his head. It was nuts. And then the Habs, like, there was an interesting call. I think it was Matheson and, was it Bunting or someone else? 2 people got caught up, and they both went down. The refs called it double minor, I think both for holding. Or not double minor, like, well, 1 for each of them. So it went to 4-on-4 hockey. And then a minute into the 4-on-4, there was a high stick from William Nylander, and he knew it. Now, there's an argument that David Savard stepped in a little bit and kind of, like, backed Nylander off so he couldn't really get through. Maybe it should have been interference, but regardless, Nylander was the one that got the penalty call, put Montreal on a 4-on-3 power play with just 2 minutes left in the game. And it was so close. After all these chances crashing into Samsonov, Montreal got a couple great ones, capped off by a Kirby Dach one-timer that was going right into the net and just hit the inside of the post. This guy was all over the ice tonight. In my opinion, our best player, and him or Suzuki, but Doc was just so noticeable. Laying the body, getting countless high-danger scoring chances. He was phenomenal tonight. But eventually we couldn't score, and we go into overtime. 3-on-3 overtime, the bane of a lot of people's existence. It's not often that great because you go in and you cycle back. Yeah, it's fast-paced, but like you go in and you clear out. No, I don't really like it. We'll go for a change, and we'll go back. But it was a pretty quick overtime. I don't think there were any whistles. It was just back and forth. Good chance here, good chance there. Anderson almost scores. But who else than another guy who spent most of his time in the AHL this year? Rem Pitlick, off a feed from Mike Hoffman, flies down the left wing. Short side snipe on Samsonov. What are you supposed to do? Perfectly placed shot, and Pitlick, no smile, no celly. Statue of Liberty, holds the stick up, stone face to the crowd, like, that's right, look at me. I'm back on the top line. You're not going to want to send me down for the rest of the season. And after his performance tonight, I wouldn't blame St. Louis if he's just like, nah, Rem, you're staying here for a while now that we have a couple spots opened up, at least until a few guys get back from IR. So it was just amazing, right? We had Kirby. I should have played this animation earlier. We had Kirby going off in this game, doing everything we wanted to. The Habs defense a little bit better, especially in that second period. We had that Laval line of Pizzetta, Belzile, and Harvey Pinard connecting. Harvey Pinard almost had 2, and finally Rem Pitlick capping it off for a win against the Toronto Maple Leafs on a Saturday hockey night in Canada. It doesn't get any better than that, right? All of us as Habs fans, we crave these Saturday night games versus the Leafs. It's amazing, especially when it's in the Bell Center. There's a big snowstorm where I am right now. My power was going out during the game. I had to switch to mobile data watching. I'm surprised my power hasn't gone out during this video, so I should probably end it pretty soon. But, oh man, what a fun game. I enjoyed every single second of that. The Habs beating the Leafs is amazing, but to do it with such a depleted roster after hearing such bad news this morning about Cole Caufield, to come in, fight back after being down 2-0, putting up a stellar performance in the second, Monty saving us in the third, and Rem Pitlick of all people to end it off. I mean, I was ready to say it was a perfect tanking game. We get 1 point, but no, maybe they're not going for it. They're a train. They want to run through the league, and Toronto's a great place to start. So, I mean, you know, I still want us to kind of trail off in the standings eventually, especially without Caufield. There's not much to watch for, but it is a bit of fun when you see these AHL guys come in and really get their moments in the NHL. But that'll do it for this game reaction edition of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate all the support, and we hope it continues. I'm Josh Gosse. We'll catch you in the next video.